Okay, getting the first pick.
Oh, get three, Pyro, get three with the
Blade Kid putting on a clinic. Whole team's down. Oh!
Experience tranquility.
Welcome everybody as we are here back with another wonderful week of Overwatch Tranquility. We've been here for a while, or at least in stage 2. Not for too long, but it's been so far pretty interesting, especially with what we have right now. Moving in, we are rocking with the Atlantis Arcadia versus Manifest within a very interesting tier. More specifically, we are within, I believe, the Transcendence tier, and this is something that is nice because it's that cream and butter, that even fight, and it is a fresh start. Either way, I don't want to delay this any longer because I'm username_Intel here, joined by my good friend Ty Munster. How are you doing?
You say your username Intel. I think you're a thief because he's just saying the things I was getting ready to say right before the stream. These two teams, they are 2 and 4 at the moment. Atlas, not Atlantis, Arcadia, and Manifest. Both of them 2 and 4 overall record. They both one of the team went 2 and 3 in their last match. One went 2 and 1 or 1 and 2. So they both lost their last match, and they both did it close. So both these teams have about the same level of momentum and about the same record so far, and they're just trying to get right now they're in a blank slate. Both these teams are completely in the neutral. They need to try and get some sort of positive momentum for the rest of the season moving forward, and if it's a close match, it's going to be really hard to truly see if one of these teams can get that momentum. But if not, then if it's a close match, it's going to be hard. I just said that. But if it's a good steamroll, I guess it's a good steamroll is the thing. But if one of these teams can win hard, then they're setting themselves up pretty well to make a little bit of a comeback in the rest of the season.
And sometimes we have to take our time. Sometimes it's hard to be able to speak English. I definitely understand from experience, but you're 100% right. And I think both of these teams have to go at it with everything they have, especially with our first map being Lijiang Tower. I feel that is one of the scariest maps to kind of start something out on because I don't think it gives you the full answers, but it very much can be a momentum swinger.
Yeah, and so I'm not 100% sure if I'm just crazy, but I don't see the stream up right now. Okay, 3-minute delay. That makes sense. All right, yeah, I'm done.
3 minutes.
Okay, 30 minutes delay. Okay, well, I did not know about that. So, you know what? Ignore me. I don't get to know anything during the game. I guess I get to cheat afterwards and pick the winning team for every map. Maybe I'll just pick the losing team to throw you guys off. I don't know.
Ooh, I would definitely agree. Messing with chat's by far my favorite thing to do in the world. But being here on Lijiang Tower, we are rocking with the Wrecking Ball composition. Interesting to see. Honestly, I'm loving to see the Wrecking Ball composition run out a lot more because I think it's very hard to run good, and a team that runs it better will always win.
Yeah, and the thing that I'm really looking at is we got a Gen... We don't have a Genji. All right, so my heart's been broken, but we do have a pharmacy on one side, and it looks like on the other side we're going to have a little bit more of the Sombra action. She's going to be able to hack those health packs. There's a couple of really important megas here and a couple of good minis as well. So we're going to have to see how the Pharah Mercy Ana goes against the Briggs Zen and the Tracer and see if they can get, or Sombra I mean, and see if they can get the proper value out of their heroes here, and that is good value.
Yeah, I was going to say that there's no reason why you don't run Sombra, especially because Sabertooth is on it. Like, look, they immediately melt down Solo. The Pharah is doing their best to try to take anyone out of sight of the air, but look at this. Karnak is not only able to take out the D.Va, push them off the map, but they lose their Ana in the entirety of their side. It's just able to continue to move forward. Manifest has full control over the point, and the Pharah Mercy is barely raising ult charge.
I mean, he's Fun is at 66% at the moment, so it's not like the barrage is never going to be up this map. But the play there for Manifest was so good, isolating certain targets, getting the good position. They're corralling how they need to. Even if the supports are getting a ton of pressure, they're still living. Go ahead.
Yep, don't worry, I'll take it right over for you, my king. As we see Source get knocked out of this fight, that is going to be pretty bad because they've lost it in the outer, they don't have the Discord, but the Pharah manages to get hacked. They had Barrage, they're gone, but the Brink gets traded out in kind of revenge or so. But the issue is that Solo's gone. You need that Wrecking Ball to be able to make that space. We do see the Mercy enabled and opened and manages to get that res. This could be a trendsetter. However, Source has come back. This still is sort of a 5v6, and it looks like Fun is focusing down Source. The issue is that the point is sort of being going to capture on their side, but they weren't all together, weren't focused on the same targets, and now they're going to lose that, even though that was 100% winnable.
Yeah, I was really not a fan of that res from Dorito at the end there. It didn't lose them the fight or anything, but even though there was a really good pick onto Source to start that out, because, you know, I can't talk, apparently. The Resurrect really staggered out that last fight for them, and they're not going to have as much time in the future. And the hacks have been so good from Sabertooth here. Every single time there's a right click, and it's good.
Yeah, that's pretty much how you want to be playing Sombra, and it's what makes Sombra so good during this comp. You just shut down anyone, and, well, what are they going to do? However, we do see the ult economy starting to come out. EMP, D.Va Bomb, we do lose Crank, and it seems that the bomb is not being placed on point. It's really a fight to see if they can continue to hold it. However, the Barrage and just pure ult economy coming from Atlas are going to just be doing the majority of the damage. We already see them having to use that Valve just as a last-minute insurance, and they win that, but they wasted or used more of it, a lot of ultimates.
Yeah, the Valk was used at the last second when it probably wasn't necessary, and the Barrage I would say wasn't necessary either because Newton was going full Richard Orwell mode onto Manifest there, just getting 3 kills in the mid-fight. That's the kind of hero play you need there, and with the Discord Orb onto Fun, we're going to have to see if he can survive all this pressure.
Look at this, the rally being used as a good engagement. The Pharah is the big issues, but it seems that the mines are truly going to be their problem. The support line is split from their team, and unfortunately enough, that pulse bomb is going to be shutting down the rallying brig. Fun has pure rain in the air. If the Sombra's not shutting them down combined with the D.Va, then there is just nothing they can do. The tank line is just pressured out and basically already looking to reset.
So in the previous fight, the one before the one that just happened, Neapolitan ended up using when they used their self-destruct, they threw it off the point, off the map even, because they had gotten demeched by the opposing self-destruct to try and remech. That, and then last fight, what happens is Newton and Fun get a lot of early damage. Fun gets 2 kills onto the supports, which automatically makes you lose the fight, even though the rally's committed. And Sabertooth can't find good translocator positions, so he's getting punished very frequently by the DPS on the other side.
Yeah, the hack going early onto Fun does let them know that that Barrage is there. So that's the big ultimate that they're wanting to worry about. However, this fight truly is going to be fighting on point. We already see the Barrage come out, most of it being eaten. However, they're not able to shut down Fun. They are able to shut down the Mercy counterpart, and that Valve was built. However, it seems that the rest of the team is just able to kind of focus down, especially with those mines in the backline. Manifest can't get too much value off of them. They do have the EMP if they want to try to save this, and Sabertooth's doing an amazing job of pumping in that damage. Combined with Cypher, they managed to bring this fight back. If it wasn't for the fact that Fun just came back, managed to take out the Sombra, this would be a lot more scarier. There is a bit more sustain coming onto the side of Atlas as they continue to return back into the point and have that Valk, but the Transcendence is there, and it's knocked off the point because Fun is here to ruin yours. They now have full control over the point, and the respawns are inside their favor. Manifest have to use that EMP, but the mines are already out, and they're not going to be affected. The rest of the team is just struggling to do as much as they can, and it just seems that Manifest aren't going to be manifesting the first win as we see it go straight over to their enemies, the opponents, Atlas Arcadia.
Newton's looking like a metallic lion because he's king of the jungle and the city right now, dominating, doing so much work at the moment, so much damage from the Tracer. He's really just put his team on its back so far, and even though, you know, the rest of the team has definitely not been bad, he's just been overperforming. Even when he's getting hacked and EMP'd, he's still beating out Zephyr a lot of these times. Even though Zephyr initially had his number, the momentum's really starting to switch over to Newton, and don't beat me again, buddy. You're gonna start frustrating me.
Yeah, I definitely would have to agree, because look, they're going to be set up, and they're running out on this brawl. It's more interesting to see the Sigma come out. I've always talked about how the D.Va is better, but that Mei is more interesting than anything, because the Junkrat has so much spam. They do manage to split up the point, but they're not able to really move in. That immortality does come first out of Manifest, which is not what you want to be seeing, but Solo just takes so much damage from Sabretooth and Cypher that, look, they're just able to move in, start beaming them down. It's a gaming simulator. It's a death simulator.
So in theory, you would expect a Junkrat with a Sigma and a Mei with a D.Va. The Mei and D.Va more aggressive, the Sigma and Junkrat more passive, let you get a lot more burst damage. But the way Manifest played with their DPS, the Junkrat, I mean, it was really good. They were doing so much damage with the Rat, and even though Sabretooth wasn't getting a lot of value out of the Sim, the Junkrat was making up for it in spades.
Yep, we see this window come out. Source wants to be able to use it to not only move forward, but to pump in that damage. However, they're not fully stacked in together, yet Solo and Dorito are going to be the ones found out. They move into the line of sight and are going to be punished for that. Now the rest of the team wanting to lead this fight is struggling to go out. That teleporter gets broken. The Mei wall was not used for them to disengage, but rather to split, and now they kind of have to go into this with a disadvantage.
Yeah, only the amplification matrix was used last fight, and already Source at 40% to his next. So really good value there from not Mechanize, that's the wrong division, from Manifest to get the value with as little resources as possible. But on the other side, you're 70, 80 to a lot of ults, and you're going to have to farm them up pretty soon if you want to get this fight out and running.
We see that Riptire, it's being used, so the window isn't going to be having much, but this is still a fair trade, honestly. But this window being in such a good spot is what's in the advantage. The Blizzard managing to catch out somewhat of the backline, but the bomb doesn't find too much. The issue is that they can't really follow up on that Blizzard, so they have to use the Sim wall just to be able to move forward. Junkrat by far is the biggest threat on this point. Right now, the burst damage is insane, yet Source is able to find out the Mei, and now the rest of the team are trying to kind of collapse onto them, but it's all up to Cypher to try to win this out. Unfortunately, though, the Reinhardt hammer is just way too big and way too powerful to shut things down. It doesn't seem like it's in Manifest's favor. They don't have the respawns, and it seems like they're having to make those swaps, just doing their best to try to immediately get back onto the point. They're able to get it into this one-fight territory, but they need to start securing it. The Greater Flux combined with the Shatter does an immense amount of damage. Going to be able to take out two, and that counter charge is just absolutely beautiful. Sure, we see this point get up to 99, but they've used this window, and they really only have two ultimates to try to take it back.
Starting off that fight, Atlas managed to get really good isolation onto the tanks. Karkanos was split off from the raw damage that was coming out on the side of Atlas, and even though Astrozerg did kind of get baited by his team taking a teleporter into death, it was still a really good play, and Dorito with the first elimination of this fight is going to force an immediate walk backwards.
Yeah, look at that. Losing your Baptiste this early is absolutely terrible. You can't push forward. Your team's going to be taking a bunch of damage. You've given the opponents enough time to build up a couple ultimates, but now this is where you want to set in, especially with that Mei wall is absolutely massive. Combined with that window, nobody can even move in if they wanted to. They're using their resources to try to leave, but look at that. Two people already picked off, and that entire attempt of a fight just turns out into like a defeating poke.
Again, the use of the amplification matrix is perfect to just use it as a cycling ult. On the other side, you're starting to you have 3 ults available, and your other 3 are going to take a second to charge. I would say give yourself just one more fight to wait for those to come online. Take a dry fight here, force out the Blizzard, and beat. Those are your biggest opposition ultimates, as well as this Flux. Maybe this Tire can get some value, though.
Yeah, I definitely can see, and that gets massive value, managing to find out too. The Blizzard's there, but the Sound Barriers are equally enough when it comes to denying the value. However, it seems that they are able to find out the backline. That Symmetra and Bat being gone is absolutely massive. However, the rest of Manifest are still there. They have a teleporter out. Sure, it may not be good to kind of get back to the point, but it's still there. The Shatter place, it manages to hit out air while Solo comes back, building up one of their own. They are down. The entire team is against them, but they have that Sim wall as a major defense. That shatter absolutely beautiful as it manages to hit out Source, who's trying to come back, and yet Cypher's going to be able to kind of clean it up that wall, now splitting things up. I don't even know what's going on anymore as the bomb drops. It seems that Manifest are finally being able to kind of clean up the fight. Last person being on the point is going to be that D.Va. However, how much can a D.Va really do on their own without a bomb, without the team, and without a clutch? Because we're going to be seeing Manifest kind of take us to the last point.
I mean, Zephyr just put his team on his back for that last fight. It was incredible watching the Junkrat there. Every single time that they were looking down in any given team fight, he would just come up, or not in any team fight, but in that last team fight, he kept on getting kills and kills and kills. He ended up with 4 kills by the end, or 5 or 6 kills at the end. He started off with a really good 2K tire. He ends up one-shotting the Moira. He did so much work on the Junkrat there, getting those ideal flanks at the right times, getting on those good positions, and now we're going to see him stay on the Mei, actually, which is, not stay on the Mei, but moving on to the Mei.
Been the longest 3 minutes to see the stream go live. I'm not even going to lie to you.
30,
oh,
buddy.
30. I'm dyslexia. Don't even worry about it. As we see these teams
Alright,
getting
you can't
set.
use an excuse when you're listening, but...
Alright, I can and I always do. Because we see the Wrecking Ball composition going up against the Brawl. And that's a nasty ante. They're doing so much peel for that Symmetra just to be able to stay alive. And I've got to say, I'm impressed how much they're being able to move on to this point, have a nice rotation, and stay alive. I mean, fun does get built up to 70% with that ult charge. They're bringing him, and eventually they are shut down. Now the rest of the team who are stuck inside this box don't even get to set it up. They don't have anything to be there because the Wrecking Ball composition, the Pharah and Newton, they've just discovered a new element and they shut you down.
Shot through the heart and Zephyr's to blame, walling off his Lucio at the last moment so he can't get any peels while he's outside of the point. But even more important than that, Solo starts off that fight by booping them away from the teleporter, including the Reinhardt shield, which lets Fawn and Newton take care of it. So no teleporter means that you get all the space you need, you force the enemy team to go into predictable positions, gets a big bio nade, which just opens up the fight and lets them easily take as long as they want to deal as much damage as possible. The Brawl's supposed to cap at least once there, and they don't even manage that.
Yeah, it's going to be a massive issue, especially in hindsight, because look at that! It seems that things are switching as Newton's bomb is going to be eaten. They force themselves to switch over to the Wrecking Ball. They really need to get some value out of this because they're going at the disadvantage. The ult charge are not in their favor. Now the Nano comes out with the barrage, instantly takes out the supports and the baby D.Va. That's just looking a little rude because they had control of the point. Sure, it does get swapped out, but it's no longer yours.
I mean, that's a situation where it's better to be safe than to be sorry. Using 2 ultimates in a situation where you probably don't need to, but it's better to just lock that fight away while you don't have the objective and get quick control back. You're going to end up staggering the Sombra here as well, which is really good. Cybertooth, uncharacteristically so far, he's been so good at staying alive and getting good positions, except for his Translocators, which really has been capitalized on. But what just happened to Solo?
Well, he's riding solo, that's all I'm saying. Good song, by the way. Just want to make that little quote. As it seems that they really want to try to get control of the point. The entirety of Atlas, they don't really have the room to move in. They really just want to kind of contest that point. What they have ultimates. They can decide to engage this however they want. Seems more of kind of just an Echo v Far, and the Far is going to be able to win that out, but it's still an even trade. We do see Manifest now wanting to move directly onto the point as Solo's taking an insane amount of damage, and yet really there's no clear fight. It seems that they're all kind of split up. Serb manages to get found out. That bomb goes far deep in, but it's really just to split them up. Now this counter bomb's going to be used, however, manages to find out Fun and Solo. That's more than what you could have hoped for. You can now move in. They're forced to use that Transcendence just to try to kind of keep themselves up and really find anything as the Mercy's able to fly around, be perfectly safe. Newton's going to go down, and they get the bag kept. That was a really interesting fight, to say the least.
It has to be given to Sherb here because the peel has been fantastic. Keeping Source alive through the ball, Tracer, Pharah, all of the 9 yards that could be thrown at you and a little bit of spice on top has been so good from Sherb to keep his Brigitte alive. Not only that, but I think that playing the Echo here is going to give your supports a lot more backbone and just pile it on! Pile it on!
Oh, that's gonna hurt. The rest of the entirety of Atlas really can't do much against an EMP. Their entire comp is fundamentally ruined by it. So that's why you see the D.Va lose their mech, and now the rest of the team is patiently waiting for something to happen, or for them to get their own mech back so they can try and engage.
Yeah, and it's like I was saying a second ago. Playing the Echo, you don't need the Mercy, which means you don't need the Ana, which means that apparently you can kill Brigittas really well, and this Nano Barrage is going to do a lot of value.
Oh, it does more than a lot of value. It seems combined with Solo's boop, they're able to put in a lot of damage. It's up to Cypher to try to make something happen, especially because they're on the copy. It does look like everyone else is able to kind of leave the fight, or specifically the point, just to be able to be fine. And the Valk is kind of that security just to be able to make this fight happen. But the mines are the truth there. It combines with the rallies. They're trying to make some sustain. That's why you see the bomb being used. Shuts down all the mines, and they put a bunch of damage for anyone trying to move in. Now there's no support line, tank line, everyone else is trying to come on, but there's just a line of death that's going to be hitting them continuously. It just seems that Atlas have a good clear control, and the staggers are just too heavy on the side of Manifest. Look, I mean, even those mines get used to stop the Wrecking Ball from coming back in. I've got to say that's completely rude. It was a bit unnecessary, but you guaranteed yourself Lijiang Tower's victory.
So, Atlas were doing a really good job of getting their far into position, and the thing that Manifest did the best during that round was keeping the people who aren't far in check. But the one fight where they don't do that quite well enough is when the far gets to go in for free, because the enemy team they don't get an opportunity to reset because, or to get, like, they're just not taking as much damage. They're managing to hide themselves away. The moment you use that EMP in the locked room, you might have just thrown away the round right there. Even no matter what else you do, you're not going to have the kind of ultimates that kind of self-sustain to keep your team alive, to stop the Pharah from just coming in and being like, I want the Zen, and I will have him. You have nothing to stop.
I definitely have to agree. Sombra is such a powerful character that one ability, like, used off of her incorrectly can really set the pace, and I think that's going to be a further issue. But I also think that their kind of comp switch so early on, I don't think it hurt them in the long run, but it definitely hurt them in the early run. I think if they had kind of walked out on it and played the way they did, they maybe would have had another fight to take it back, but it's really what hurt them.
And I also think the fact that they didn't counter the things that were happening on the other side. Sorry, I'm eating my giant gummy bear right now. Like, I don't know if it was a fire boop or the ball boop. I'm 90% sure it was the ball boop that sent them away from the teleporter and opened up that space. But whichever one it was, you have options to stop that. You have DM for the Pharah. You have just a regular old shield for if it was some sort of ranged boop, like a Brigitte or Lucio. And if it's the ball, you have the Mei to be able to stop him from getting value. So the fact that the ball was able to get in there, or the Pharah was able to get a concussive blast off, allowing you to destroy the teleporter, was really not good. It shows that you have a lot of coordination things to work on, and you have a lot of things to think about.
Honestly, I think it just comes down to the fact that Wrecking Ball has just been so good of recently. And it does seem that we are going to be moving on next to Hanamura, and we are going to be getting a switch. I am most likely going to be saying this wrong, like Hype War with like the W in for Newton. And I don't understand these player names sometimes, but still, I don't think Newton played terribly, but I'm wondering, because normally when you get a switch in, that means that you have a specific strategy, right?
Yes, but also two things. One, it's hyper. He mistyped it in chat. That was not supposed to be a W there. That was an accident. If you look on the team, there's actually hyper nut. There's no there's no hyper with a W in it anywhere. So, get to bully you for that now, and I appreciate that. Thank you for the free fuel. But also, yes, when you go to a different map and you have a swap, obviously you're going to be playing something different. And it tends to be whether or not it's in your hero pool or not. And sometimes it can just be, we want to run double hit scan or double projectile. We might see Pharah Hanzo sort of thing here. We might just see Hanzo in general, because Newton seemed to be playing a lot of the close range hit scans. And it'll be really interesting if we see like a Hanzo come out, because that's where my mind is going to first with this swap.
I definitely kind of agree. I feel more that we might see a bit more spammy. I think Hanamura is very kind of it's utilized at its finest when your composition is slowing down the fight times rather than beating them as fast as possible. And obviously that sounds pretty obvious, but I think that's mostly because 2CP is so dangerous when you're playing at a very low time bank and you're needing to build up ult charge. So let's say you rock out with the Orisa double shield, Orisa Sigma, and maybe you have the Hanzo, Torbjorn, Pharah, something. You're able to slow it down to such an insane degree that you can maybe slow it down to 1 to 2 fights if you're lucky.
I mean, Farah Torb, that would be an experience if we saw the Farah Torb. That would be just something. Don't run Farah Torb, please. I don't want to be bored.
I don't know what you mean. It is absolutely the best composition, especially seeing. I love Torbjorn. Right? I've been playing Torbjorn. I've been a Torbjorn main since the beginning, but it looks like these teams, they want to spit on my dreams. They don't really like me anymore, or at all, it seems, because they both want to rock out on what they ran on Lijiang Tower. However, it seems Hypernut is coming in for. Oh, it's Hypernut.
Yeah. So what happened is they decided to try and sub in Hypernut for Newton. But something apparently happened behind the scenes because Newton's back in for fun. So whatever they were planning on doing originally, they're just going to have to cut it out and go for the regular ball comp on the defense. And on the attack, we're going to have the same exact thing, except once again, Cybertooth is playing the Sombra, Zephyr playing the Pharah. They're sticking to their guns on what they've scrimmed, and it might come to bite them because they're really only sticking to this one style of the ball comp, while the other team here, they're showing a more wide variety. Atlas going from the Tracer with the, I believe it was an Echo, to the Ashe, and they're playing with they were playing on a Mercy, now they're on Zen Brig.
Yeah, I think it's more harder for the ball composition to kind of enter in onto the point. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Because, I mean, look, we see them now starting to dive in, and the supports are able to freely move in, but they're at a consistent fear of Solo dropping down or the Ashe managing to hit a headshot. It does seem that they kind of have room as the rest of the team are split around, and it seems that Kark is able to kind of find out Solo, and they're pumping in damage to each other, but the support line isn't really able to move in until they kind of get to the high ground. They give it up. Cypher does go down, but this is still looking like anybody's fight.
The thing with the ball mirrors on maps like this is it's all about trying to get your ball into a better position and your Tracer with them. Right now, they're playing a lot more Solo than their value, and Source, the one taking advantage, gets 2 eliminations, so this might be a quick cap.
Yeah, your Zenyatta should not be getting this much damage in. Well, I mean, you should. It's Zenyatta, because you let them build the trans up this early that it wasn't needed, but it was just flexed on.
Yeah, icing on the cake, or gummy bear. I'm eating my giant gummy bear right now between talking. But it was so good of Source. I don't know how he found it. I was looking at Karkanos and Solo off on their own, forgive my pun, Solo flanks, and finally somebody dies here for Manifest. Sirloin, I don't the Karkanos moment is said in the chat, and it's just gonna be a slow reset. You're not going to have as much of a steamroll because you use the Transcendence, though. Cyrilin is going to have his on the defense.
I think this is just the Wrecking Ball mindset. If you don't roll, you don't go. But, again, I'm not too used or very obvious to be able to see how these fights are going to go off, but I really think this is going to be heavily reliant off Sabertooth's EMP kind of mid-fight. Those mines are going to be able to kind of let them move in and kind of get some form of advantage, especially with that Diva Bomb trying to find anyone out. Unfortunately, though, it does seem that Source is going to go down while that rally was up, so they're at a 5v6 scenario because that Tracer's going to be coming back really fast. But that's why you have the EMP. That's why you're using it, because you hit the majority of them and you force out that rally. Now, they need it just to be able to stall and sustain themselves, especially with the Bob out. It seems it's just kind of more enough stopping them from even getting a tick.
Cybertooth kind of goes beast mode a little bit, but it's really just not enough, as the stagger here is going to be brutal, but it was such good, many yes, from the players there. The DPS, Cybertooth and Zephyr ended up 2v1ing Newton, using their combined damage to basically instantly delete the Tracer on the other side. No time to really get a recall off without preemptively pressing the button because of how much damage he was taking. And that kind of opened the door a little bit, but because it's 2CP, you lost one player, you lose the round. Or you lose the fight at the very least. Cybertooth tried to commit, and it didn't work out. They're already kind of close to an EMP, though, so you might be able to get one off this fight.
Definitely agree, and it is more of kind of a trades fight to see who gets kind of the upper hand. The defenders obviously have that fairly advantage just because of the respawn timer, but I'm liking to see how Solo wants to engage on these mines. I think once you get that first pick, it's what's opening up, which is why you see Source use that Transcendence, wants to let the team take over the high ground without losing anyone, although it does seem that Sabretooth is going to be found. They do have control underneath, but that's why you see Mr. Sir using out those Transcendence, or that Transcendence in proper grammar, looking to just meet things even. The mines being used on top of the high ground, kind of in the stairs, same with that bomb, but it looks like Manifest don't really have any control over this fight. It seems more of just a messy of, hey, what can we get of value? They do get Astro, but is it really that much? The mines, I mean, the EMP is really what I'm looking out for, because this now gives them room over. They're now able to start focusing out targets, and Source has so much room to play that they get 2 ticks off of it. The D.Va can try to want to touch, but it's up to Newton just to be able to stall this out for them long enough. The Hack now going to be able to shut them down before anything can truly happen, and they are suffering to get back onto this point. It seems that the Wrecking Ball Solo is going to do their best just to try to make anything happen, but immediately melting down, plus that Transcendence, the Bob is only going to be able to do so much, able to be jumped down. It is going to be hacked, so that damage is going to be pumped in. They want to melt it down before anything happens, while Cypher and the D.Va kind of return back to the point. We do see the Pulse Bomb there combined with the anti, and maybe this has just activated the 2CP moment, as well as the respawn timers. My goodness, Manifest had a good fight, but there is just nothing you could do on Hanamura.
I was going to say that fight. Wow, this is a really big overcommitment from Manifest here, but they ended up almost turning the fight into their favor. But the word of the day, folks, is focus fire. I guess that's 2 words, but shut up. They don't get the good enough focus fire onto the enemy players who are respawning, and the stalls are so good, they're managing to get just the right amount of positioning, just the right amount of calls, like, alright, who's got the current touch? You? Alright, I'll get it in a second when you die. They're doing it so well, just so then they can barely cap. And that fight took 1.5 minutes. That's 90 seconds gone.
Yeah, that is going to be a big issue, because now they have to try and replicate it. The bright side, Sabretooth does have that EMP, but look, they are just walking into them. They have no fear in their eyes. They're just going in, shutting down the support line before they can set up.
This has been a little bit painful to watch here, because it feels like Cybertooth and Zephyr or Karkanos or somebody is getting a good entry frag or getting some good value to come into this, but somebody just dies. Whether, I mean, Source got some great value on first point, and he's been getting some great value throughout this whole map. All these players are. It's just that some small little thing just goes 90 degrees in the wrong direction, and this EMP has to go right.
It does manage to find a couple targets, but there's only so much value you can get off of it. That's why the mines are being placed on the point, because now everyone who wants to be able to sit down there and try to stop it can't do anything. Solo is just roping around trying to do anything, gets at the point for just a millisecond. That's all they needed, capturing it at 32 seconds, which is, whew, you couldn't have hoped for better in that type of scenario.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't cap second there in your manifest, you're going to be extremely disappointed in yourselves. Because that first push onto second really should have gotten it for you. But it ends up just not. Or not that first push, but the one that they had around 3 minutes, that took them 1.5 minutes just to lose it to poor focus fire, that should have gotten you the fight win there. But you just took too long, and it just wasn't correct. You had to go for another ult push. And yes, it does eventually work out, but now you're in a position to where if the enemy team gets a big time bank, you're just going to be pumping theirs full of numbers. Like, sure, you did cap, and yes, you did cap without it hitting overtime. But if they get 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes on this second point, that's going to be bumped up by 28 seconds, and that's going to be painful if you don't cap first. You put yourself into a really rough position by not capping on that fight where you had the perfect opportunity to do so.
Honestly, I didn't even think about it like this, but I want you to explain this to me. I'm very dumb. I'm a plat player, alright? I only know so much. This teleport comp, is it going to... Do you think it's going to work against the Wrecking Ball? No? Why?
You did not even have to finish that for me to know that the answer is no.
Why?
Not running the Lucio. You need, the whole point of this comp is get there quick, get there now. The whole point of the comp is also run a Mei. You get the walls off. The Break Cree is not, and in my opinion, is a terrible adaptation that makes you slower, makes you sluggish, makes you vulnerable to range damage. You don't have the wall to help isolate targets like the ball. Sure, the Break and Cree will help with that, but a Mei does so much more. They're just gonna get poked out over time, and they can't sustain well enough.
Yeah, they are fighting on this point. It does seem that Neo is taking the majority of the damage, but you're 100% right. Solo's going to be the first one down. Luckily, though, they managed to get that tick. The Immortality's still alive, while Kark is able to kind of roll around, spin to win if they still wish. But it's more of a, hey, stay on the point or we're going to continue getting ticks, because that second one's now obtained. Newton and Hypernut are doing an amazing job of keeping everyone off the point, but they're still struggling to finish this out. It seems Soar's able to build up that Transcendence just at the nick of time. Wasn't truly expecting yet, but the window's now there. I mean, the wall is going to be able to kind of split them down and kind of finish things up, even if that pulse bomb's really nice. The Immortality just came off cooldown, secures this fight, and honestly, I'm more impressed. They proved you wrong.
I mean, that is what we call a Hypernut carry. He ends up hitting some incredible right clicks that should not be happening in that sort of situation. I'm going to be extremely toxic with my analysis here because my take has been proven wrong, and I don't appreciate that, but Hypernut really saved his team's rears there, and Solo going down, the Immortality Field was used in an inopportune time. It's just you got the right amount of damage as the attacking team there, and Manifest didn't handle it correctly.
Yeah, so when moving into this now, they're wanting to play the high ground. They obviously want to try to have some advantage, but that's EMP. It's big. Hits 3. The rally's there to be able to sustain them, but now the mind is splitting them up entirely. They can't decide to go the opposite way, and that bomb was a little bit too hopeful for their own kind, especially because their team is now stuck inside the stairway. We do see them kind of being caught out. Hypernut is able to get out Kark, but the Shatter is kind of a little bit enough to be able to take out that break and move into everyone who else is on the backline. Now they get that first tick. Window being used on the high ground. They're not only going to get healing, but consistent damage. But it's all about focus fire. Source is going to slow this down now because you can't die when you're in Transcendence unless it's a Widowmaker's headshot plus that pulse bomb. Everybody just stands near it and gets a 4K Cypher!
Are you kidding me, Zephyr? What on earth did you just pull? You were not winning that fight without some miraculous heroic, and 4 people deciding not to live anymore. That is about as heroic as it gets, if you ask me. I mean, sure, you know, that's not what you see in the movies, but that is just incredible. And now if you are Manifest here, I think that you need to think about your composition. You don't have enough damage to deal with the brawl with the Brigitte. Unless what? I was watching Cybertooth for that. He just one clips and I think it was 18 bullets, deletes a Baptiste.
Hey, all I've got to say is, if there's anything to be proud of, it's how much you're winning these fights before they start, alright?
No, Sherlin is getting spawn camped right now. And even more importantly, look at Cybertooth's ult percentage. I said they were going to have to play a higher damage composition, but you should keep the Sombra if you do that. I think Zephyr going over to a Pharah or Echo, something like that, to give yourself some more AoE damage to deal with the brawl composition or force them off. Because right now, this EMP is going to be your last thing before you have to go for another fight.
Yeah, they do get a very massive one, and the mind is placed in the perfect spot.
God.
These ult combinations or just ult economy, that the way that they're using it has just been so successful.
So it looks like they're going to be sticking onto this composition, which isn't terrible, especially because the enemy team has proven they cannot quite handle it as much as they might want to. They're going to end up switching to the Lucio, which is an extremely important pick. Like I said, first fight, win of the comp, go fast. Rush needs to rush. They're on a rush composition. You need to have the ability to rush, and you can't rush if you're playing like a bunch of turtles. So switching over to the Lucio is going to give you a lot more speed, but the only problem is you don't have the best rush targets. Especially without the Brigitte, your only CC is the flashbang.
Yeah, I'm more interested to see why they stick onto the Sim. They really just want that shield, I guess. And the high noon combination comes out a little late, and it seems that Newton is going to be focused out, doesn't get any healing. And this Transcendence from Source, you're not going to be able to kill anything. Even with this window up and that Shatter commit, it does seem to be slight of a turnaround as you get a couple picks. Now that bomb comes, you're trying to just force them off the point to be able to get ticks, but you don't have any survivability. Your team is gone, and you use the wall to try to make something happen. But honestly, you're a bit schizophrenic. You're seeing things because you're just not able to secure this out, and there's really 2 squishies on the point with no backup, no healing, and now they're at the spawn, and you go to double shield, possibly?
They're gonna switch the composition. Yeah, almost guaranteed to double shield. Maybe the turtle comp. Yep, they're gonna stick on the diva. So they're going to the turtle comp. But those ults that you used and the way that you did, that ain't it, Chief. That's gonna get a yikes from me. And switching off the Brig to the Lucio just to go right back as well. You don't feel like you have quite much of a plan here if the first point attack composition doesn't work, and that's what you need on Hanamura. Very rarely is that comp gonna work on first, so you need to have a good plan for second.
I think it hurts more that they allowed Manifest to build 4 ultimates.
Oh yeah, and another EMP as well. This is gonna hurt.
Yeah, look at that. It manages to hit out 3 of the people in the backline. Immortality luckily is there, but it doesn't matter if you're not inside of it. Now they're slowly being picked out. They had, what, 4 minutes of a time bank, slowed down to 3 after the first fight where they get 2 ticks. Now it's 50 seconds.
Yeah, and this has not been this whole attack from Atlas has been getting a yikes from me. Like first point, yes, they bamboozled me. I was wrong. Haha. But this just has not looked good so far. They use ults in weird times. They're not playing in proper positioning, and it feels like every opportunity that they would have to get some value is they're just being like clotheslined on their way in. They don't have a door. They don't have an opening.
Although they do finally have a moment to move in. There's no pulse bomb. The big thing to worry about is mines and that bomb. But it seems the bomb is going to be falling flat. The mines now split inside them. They lose Hyper Nut. That window is there, pumping in a tiny bit of damage, but they leave it immediately. They have to touch that point to make anything happen, but the Zenyatta is going to be able to touch using that Transcendence just to be able to come in. The only bait they truly get from that fight is going to be the remake, which is dirty, but not good enough, especially when the rest of your team is now struggling, hacked, or just kind of staggered out. Newton is going to try to do your best, but, I mean, Zephyr had the better play of the game, I've got to admit. And so Solo wants to try to come and say, hey, I've got it, guys, don't even worry about it, but doesn't know the ball tech correctly, messes it up for a tiny bit, and Manifest, they're going to be the ones who win out this map.
Yeah, I got one word for you. It's Cybertooth. First off, can't think of a better name for a Sombra player than that. Second off, he's charging these EMPs like it's a foot race. It's been absolutely incredible watching this guy play the Sombra so far. I can't believe what I'm witnessing sometimes. Sure, he's had some sus moments. He's had some moments. This is it. You see the immortality has been used. You throw the pulse bomb onto the Reinhardt. The entire team stacks onto him, and you get a free 4K. That's just beautiful. But that last fight, man, Atlas just feel like they're just trying to pull all of the hope out of my heart with their play and their composition. They're throwing away ults. They're throwing positioning. They're throwing away so many things that would let them play well right now, and it just ain't it. I'm being brutal, but
No, I think you're honest, and it's definitely a fair assessment, because Atlas, at least when it came to the first point, they understood what they were doing, and they looked a lot cleaner. They were making a lot less mistakes when compared to how they played right now. I think in the long term, you need to have that consistency. It's very scary when you walk in, and that's kind of how you're making your adaptations at the second map. There is a myth that the worst team loses in, second point. I mean, loses in control. Wins in control. My English is terrible because I'm in awe. But honestly, I want to be seeing Atlas have some more cleaner. I don't know what their coach has to do, but make sure they're not making the same mistakes as that, because that'll make you lose third point and then fourth point in map 5 if you get to there.
yeah, clean it up. You got 10 minutes. We're going on break. See you afterwards. Just step it up, guys. You have it in you. Just you got to push through, and you got to think a little bit. Use your brains, guys. Hey everybody, you want to watch some good Overwatch? Me neither. But we're here anyways. So that was a joke. I want to be here. We're watching Atlas Arcadia versus Manifest, and it is currently 1-1 with Manifest winning the previous map and Atlas winning the first. Unless I'm an absolute moron, that's how I remember it going. Am I correct? Yes.
I'd like to think so, you know, if that's the way you want to start it in. Either way, yeah, you basically are right. It is 1-1 right now. Yes, yes. As you are technically right, I will give you that. We are rocking 1-1 right now with both of these teams, moving straight into Hollywood. And we just came off of like a very conflicting emotionally Hanamura when it came to Atlas Arcadia, but they've had a moment to reset. They've had a moment to kind of try things out. And I think Hanamura is one of the best maps to kind of like prove that you're not throwing anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Hanamura's or not Hanamura, but screw that map. But Hollywood's one of those maps which are just like, all right, can I get off of this now? I don't want to play this map anymore. I don't like it all that much. It's never really been the map to speak to me. I think it's probably my least favorite hybrid. Like I like Nimbani, I like Blizzard, I mean obviously I like Kings, who doesn't like Kings. Ike is one of my favorite maps, maybe my favorite map in general. And this map's just like, it feels like a 2CP to me. I don't like it.
Okay. Alright, so you're wrong. Just gonna say that out.
Alright, well, no longer respect you as a caster.
No, what do you... Hollywood is one of the best hybrid maps up there with the Ike involved in King's Row.
I sleep.
Look at the diversity that these players can run out.
Alright. I don't see a statue with eyelashes, so it's clearly not a good map. Volskaya Sands rides up.
Right now, we have Manifest rocking out still with the Wrecking composition and Sabretooth on the Sombra, who has continuously shown us to be able to build ults, I don't know, with some type of an analogy that's really fast. I don't know, atoms build up in the sky, while we're seeing this go up against the double shield.
Yeah, I like the double shield pick here, but if you know anything about me, you know I want to get into a personal fisticuffs with anybody who plays McCree with a double shield composition. It's just, it ain't, out of all the things that ain't it, it is the most ain't it thing you could go. What is its purpose in this composition? Long range damage? Well, you could play an Ashe. It's the CC at close range? You have like 4 heroes for that. It should just generally anti-dive. Torbjorn's in your composition, you have an Orisa, you have the Brigitte. It serves no purpose in this composition except for maybe getting the occasional cheeky pick, but Ashe just does it better.
I've got to agree. Dave is just not as he used to be. The nerfs just kind of hit him hard. If he doesn't have that long range consistency, that's just why you play the Kree. Well, it just turns out what it is now. You're not getting much value. You're the first one picked from your team because you don't rotate, and now the rest of your team is kind of going to have to rely on the consistent damage on their own. They do manage to find out Sabretooth. However, this is still anyone's fight as we see the CC and damage come in. The supports having to play in the back, but the Torbjorn is truly going to be the MVP of this fight as Fun's turret and kind of just raw damage is able to start melting them down. Source can't even take sight lines because they're not playing on the high ground. They decided to want to play on the low, to which they get a lot of poke, and they've really lost this fight.
Yeah, Solo's been getting so much value out of these pulls. It's been mostly solo value. His team's not been shooting at them a ton, but they have been turning a little bit. And, good job, Dave, dying first last fight. Great job, Dave. But coming to this next fight, you're going to have the amplification matrix if you're on the defense. There's a pulse bomb. Doesn't get any value, so it's the first enemy ultimate used, and you're good. So you have a lot of potential with the few ults which you might want to use in whichever order.
Yeah, this is where it's kind of how do they want to take this, especially with very much, if not no ult economy, especially with losing Sabretooth early. That's really bad. You're going up against 4 ultimates. It's soon going to be 6, which is like the big issue here. Look at them. They're just able to not really waste too many resources as the Wrecking Ball composition. It's being countered almost perfectly.
Sabretooth needs to be getting this EMP online as fast as possible. Doesn't matter how many ults you have if you can never use any of them. So this EMP can be really, really big. And not only that, outside of the pulse bomb, you're going to be pretty close to getting another ultimate this fight. And another thing I want to mention, they have been so good, Atlas, of stalling out baby divas and forcing them to remech. Or forcing them to kill themselves. Neapolitan, this is his 5th time in this series needing to remech or die.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts. Although, look at this. They have an ult economy. Can't even use the mines. You die so fast. The trance is forced as the gravitic flux slams them down, and they can't really move in anymore. How do you find out source with that pull? The coordination on this team is getting... What changed in this team?
What changed is they started to listen to each other is what it looks like. And also this double shield composition seems to be playing to their strengths a lot better. Also, you know, people throwing themselves into your ultimates tends to be pretty helpful. So, you know, the Transcendence being thrown away, or not really thrown away, but being forced by the gravitic flux. This EMP is big, but how much value can you get? A lot, apparently.
It's the bomb combination that helps it out. The rally wants to try to keep this Sigma up as much as possible, but I guess this is the moment where you realize that you should probably be taking your fights extremely early before the enemy team, because we saw that setup and how much it pays off, while we see Atlas, they have 4 ultimates right now, and they couldn't be used because they died.
Not only that, but the fact that... Nice flashbang, doesn't find anything though. But the fact that you managed to win that fight with the EMP means you're running into a very, very big wall. And that wall is made up of 4 check marks, which are very, very scary. Some of these ults aren't very good, but some of them are very scary.
Yeah, they do a good job of forcing Atlas off of the high ground, but look at this. They're going to use the bongo combined with the window just to pump in some damage to say, hey, we're going to take back our control. And there's nothing you can consistently do about it besides from trying to not only break the bongo, but try and play against them. The attention is split as we see Manifest not only fighting in the front line, but the Sigma who's in the back line of their own team. Although this is now where they're set up a massive slam, going to be pumping in that type of damage with Sabretooth gone. You don't have that hack. Solo gets remake killed? Alright, that's just a little disrespectful. Don't need to happen just because they're a little slow with the ult, and they're just able to kind of continuously move forward. This is what Brig kind of is a specialty at, and honestly, they're gonna have to rely on their own spawns if they want to take another fight.
These teams, the biggest weakness so far has been their coordination, and it was never more widely on display than when Neapolitan gets a free remake kill onto an Orisa from the middle of the choke. That should not be happening in any situation. Astros are starting to get sick of losing, though, with the first pick this fight.
Yeah, we see the High Noon being used combined with the Gravitic Flux, but doesn't find much. They're forced to have to play on this point, a very uncomfortable situation, but the bomb is perfect just to be able to find out the Sigma. The tanks are gone. They have to try to make anything happen. That's why you see the rally being used, just to try to sustain them. But they're panicking, they're choking, and they're not being able to play as a team anymore. That's why you see throughout the entirety of Streets Face, the payload just kept moving.
I hate to say it again, but this Kree is not getting any value. I don't think I've seen him get a single kill so far, as it's been his team getting most of the value. And finally you switch over to the Ashe, but it's on the 3rd point. This is where Kree would be the most successful out of the entire map. So I don't see why you wouldn't just switch over to a Brawl composition and keep the Kree. That would have made me happier at this point than just switching over to the Ashe this late.
Yeah, I've got to say that Atlas, when they get rolling, they get rolling. But every time that they get stopped, it takes them a long time. They're like an old car. You need to get some type of booster, make it run faster or something, because the pulse bomb gets placed on the point, and now the EMP gets popped onto your support line. The bright side, though, that Monkar gets used, sure, it dies, but you can't really touch onto the point. Source is trying to play around it, has to use that Transcendence just to be able to move closer in, and that window is consistently pumping in the damage while you see Fun switching back over to the McCree, and they're able to pump in the damage. It's harder for the type of Wrecking Ball to be able to kind of move in and do much, especially with it being so flat. That's why you see them all kind of walking into their deaths.
Another thing about the Kree Torbjorn combination, besides the fact that they're basically the same damn hero, is that they just don't have very good ultimates, and that's kind of necessary in a game where ultimates are about half of your character's consistent value. Sombra would not be a good hero if she did not have EMP. The Overwatch 2 rework wants to have something to say about that, but I really don't think it's going to make her very viable with how they're tuning EMP. So playing the Kree Torb, two ultimate heroes who, sure, their ults are fine, but they're not going to win you fights against this ball composition. Neither can Bob.
Oh, this bomb finds out the Orisa. That hurts more than anything because now you don't have a shield when it comes to this fight. The Brig does have to use that rally. They're going to be basically your small Reinhardt, your main tank, just trying to sustain you throughout this while the payload slowly gets its move on. But the Bob is truly where the MVP is at. Until it got booped around, it is going to be a good type of deterrent for anyone to move in because, hey, you're going to be shot at by consistent damage and tracking, so it's not really worth it. But the counter rally combined with the Trance that's really aggressive is trying to make something happen. Fun is able to use the high noon to take out the Brig very early, especially during that rally while we see BAP using the window on top of the RV. The mines are in a very nice spot, but they're not good enough to where they're going to be able to kind of swing this fight around because the tanks are going to be alive. They're going to be able to consistently pump in damage, and now at overtime, they have the bongo, and we just see the entirety of Manifest just not being able to do much. It seems that their lack of fire or lack of consistency is just going to be their punish because Solo's basically finishing this off all on his own with that consistent 3k, looking for this Tracer. We do see the EMP come out, but it's not really worth it to use an EMP when nobody is there to be able to kind of combo off of it or have much of an investment. So we are going to be seeing this stop just barely at the kind of third point, but I don't think it's the worst type of scenario.
Yeah, I mean, you don't cap first for about 3 minutes, so getting it all the way to the third objective is really good of a push, but I mean, Atlas's tanks have been doing such a good job this map. Solo and Astro have felt very in sync, and they feel like they're doing a really good job of finding the value that they need to. They're each just getting tons and tons of eliminations in the fights that it looks like Atlas are winning. In the fights where they're losing, it feels like Manifest's killing, either just getting them out of the fight early by killing them, or neutralizing their value with some other way, like EMPs, individual hacks, just sending your diva into defense matrix their faces, and coming into this next fight. This is a hero I have not seen in Tranquility in a very long time. Outside of the Widow 1v1 tournament, of course.
Yeah, I was gonna say we did recently have a Widowmaker 1v1, and I've gotta say, Widowmaker herself as a character is not played as much because I think she's a very circumstantial hero. Obviously, it's given to like Junkertown or long map ways, but it's going to be interesting to see if they try to walk out on it. I think Sabersuit's going to be able to consistently take them out because Widow's just not that good of a stable hit scan.
So it's a concept which is best known by, believe it or not, Pokemon competitive players in the first 4 generations. The unseen Widow is the deadliest, the one you can't see coming. The unscattered Widowmaker is the most difficult to deal with because she can pop out of any position when you don't expect it, but the early scouting from Cyber there gonna mean that you can play in the proper positions to mitigate her value as much as possible.
You know, honestly didn't think about it like that. So we already see them setting up and they want to be able to take that high ground. It does seem Hypernut makes me bite my tongue as Sabretooth is going to be found out without that Sombra. The monkey is going to be able to continuously move forward even if they're discorded. It's not much of an issue. They're being kind of boxed in and they're not being able to kind of space themselves out. We see the entirety of Manifest struggling just to be able to stay alive. Both of their support line are gone. I mean, sure, your own Ana is gone, but it's not going to be an issue much in the future, especially because you're starting to get these consistent pokes in. I think Fun right now is doing an amazing job of just being able to hit out that burst damage, and then they get the res onto the monkey. Sure, Hypernut's gone, but the main core of what this fight is still there. However, they only have a tick, and this is where the respawns hit in the pulse bombs there. Cypher walks into it by hitting the Pharah. There's too many questions when it comes to that, but yet they lose that fight.
I'm amazed that they managed to turn that fight. Karkanos does just an incredible job. I cannot give enough praise to Karkanos that fight for getting on and off the objective at the perfect intervals, and it was just so good. And the Nano Barrage might just have to clutch this up.
I definitely agree. Look, it gets to 2. Doesn't even really need the barrage to kind of finish this out. Combined with Solo just going ooga booga booga, just hitting them around. There's just nothing you can do as a Tracer against a Primal Monkey.
I'm upset I can't make the proper ooga booga joke there. But, you know, just so you guys know, it would have... I cannot make it because it is too mature of a joke. You can fill in the blanks there for yourselves. Now, saying the positive of not using the barrage is you have one more ult next fight. negative is you can't use it too well on this map, and when you're just Discord EMP as a monkey, you're not gonna have a good time.
I mean, hey, you take out the monkeys. That's understandable, but the barrage is there, finds out your break. You don't have a mercy to res that out. Now you've also lost Trance, your Sombra. The point's continuing to move forward. I feel that EMP could have been saved, if you ask me.
I am absolutely disgusted. Fun tries to just walk up and barrage, and then it works? Are you kidding me, Manifest? You're just gonna let them do you like that?
Well, I think they are, because now they're coming back as 6 where they can kind of take this fight, but we see the entirety of Atlas. They're stacked and they're being able to work perfectly as a team as Fun takes out their support line, well, more specifically just as Zen, until eventually we see that break gone. But the point is really the only thing being contested by the entirety of Manifest. They place mines onto it, but they don't really care. They're just gonna win the fight, go on the other side, and then prepare for the next one. They're still 6. It's not that big of an issue.
Say the entirety of Manifest. There's 2 players, one of them's at 3 HP, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot. They do manage to stall it out a little bit longer, so you do guarantee a touch here, but you don't have the ult to take advantage of it. Granted, the other side only has a Noon and a Barrage, and you already know how I feel about Korean non-brawl comps. He just dies!
Well, you're going to be making Ty feel happy while he eats his gummy as we see them now struggle. They've lost their mech. They're using that barrage to try to even it up, but you've now lost your Pharah. It's not really in a resable position, especially when you're hacked, so I like the fact that they're allowing themselves to die to quickly reset.
I don't understand the point of the McCree here. Is it just the all-around DPS? He's kind of bulky, he does kind of a decent amount of damage, and he's kind of mobile, and he has kind of CC. The all-around DPS, when it comes to hits against position, is Ashe, not McCree in this situation. You're playing the dive composition. He's not going to be able to peel for your Ana very well if you're not stacking him on your Ana. You might as well be getting value of an Ashe with Dynamite and potential to delete the Pharah from longer distances. You're not... The Kree just... I'm starting to get sick of saying it, but outside of that one situation where you just 2-tap Tracer, it ain't it.
Well, hey, it's going to allow them to move forward, and they have the high ground. They do manage to get that Transcendence out very early, but the bomb is being thrown high, combined with the EMP. They're not even going to have a chance to use the high noon. It's somewhat in their favor, especially because that Ana being gone and the Mercy being hacked eventually going to be found out. The Monkey can primal all they want, but you have no healing to help you push forward.
I mean, Solo goes primal, but that battle was primeval. I don't even know what that word means. It means I just thought it would sound cool, and I think it did, so, you know, that succeeds. But if you're Atlas right now, you need to be looking at the Kree and the Pharah and think, okay, I think some changes need to happen. The Noon is a good ultimate. The Barrage is a good ultimate. But they're not going to get us the right amount of value. This is a conversation they should have been having a minute ago. The 2-minute mark, famously in Overwatch, that mark where you need to be able to find your value and switch. And they haven't done that.
In the wise words of a famous celebrity, I caramba, because that's how they're gonna feel. It looks like the mines are slightly gonna be kind of a pester, but they're gonna be easy to break. Although Solo doesn't have their team when they try to engage. God. So look, they're slowly being picked up. They're slowly messing up. And I've got to say, I loved how Atlas had their first defense, but they're not picking back up that momentum.
I mean, the only thing they're picking up is a massive L handed to them by Manifest right now. Just so you know, in that last fight, Hypernut ends up walking onto a mine and then finished off by the Tracer because he's at 120 HP. This is what I'm saying. At the very least, running the Ashe would mean that you have a chance to just one-shot the Tracer at the very least. You should just... That Ashe hero is so good. Why do people not play it?
Hey, it's not fun. They do have a massive ult economy to try to bring this out, using that bomb on the point, and then the Nano Barrage just to try to make something happen. They're getting set up. They need to wait for... It doesn't even matter. They're not going to wait the Transcendence. It doesn't even end. They're able to kind of put this somewhat into their favor. However, it looks like Kark and Cypher are trying to make this somewhat more. The red is going to be absolutely massive. They need numbers rather than kind of just winning this out. Because look, now anyone who wants to try to touch, they can't. And they have make sure that they have room to push in. But I don't know if they have enough time to build up a bank just like they did before.
But at what cost? I mean, you give up the High Noon by switching over. You give up any Surlin old charts that you had. And you end up going over to the Moira just to be able to try and get back in time. Valkyrie's used Barrage invested. Everything was invested in that last fight besides the Primal Rage, which, sure, you're going to have it here. But it's going to be really hard. You only have 60 more seconds to be able to cap this.
It's very much a concerning and kind of adrenaline pumping moment. They do have this EMP, and it was much bigger than I was expecting. Combined with this bomb, it was almost perfectly placed. It was still really good. Finds out Fun, forces out this res, and they're already dangerously low. Solo is hit with so much damage, and now the mine stopping them from pushing in, plus that pulse bomb, they are just consistently not allowed to move forward, and that's really what you're working at right now. You can find a pick, you get the hack onto the Mercy and this damage out. You may not be able to finish it, and you've lost your Tracer, but now it's at 20 seconds. They need to push forward. They've lost the Mercy. That's an absolutely massive pick, and they're still not being able to finish things out. Atlas is struggling to continue moving forward. Now the rally is sit there for Manifest, and they're fighting solo on the point. I think 2014 started the downfall because it started with the dying monkey, and now the monkey is going to just not live. Even with the nano being there, the Transcendence is popped perfectly just be able to enable them moving forward. The hack so the monkey can't even build up value or ult charge. The Mercy eventually going down again. The Diva's the last one there, and the Pulse Bomb may be able to be nice, but you barely even demech the Diva. The Barrage wants to be going in from far, but the bomb was still there. So even if you survived, got a 4K, it was gonna shut you down. And honestly, it just looks like Manifest can keep their ball rolling consistently as they went out on Hollywood.
Atlas made a decision during that fight which really hurt me inside. They lose their Mercy. 20 seconds are remaining. They have the time to just double back, say, all right, we just give us a second. We can just wait for our regroup to come in. But they decide to engage anyways. That loses them the round because they don't have the Mercy heals. They only have the Zenyatta, if I remember correctly. So they just don't have... It was a Moira, sorry. Or an Ana at the time. It was an Ana at the time. I'm dumb. But you don't have the peel for your Ana. You don't have the peel for your Pharah. You just have to just sacrifice anybody who wants to try and go aggressive. Because the moment of any sort of anything gets out in the LOS of your Ana, they either have to push up and die, or you are going to die because you don't have the healing from the Ana. And that all stems from not having the Mercy alive. You had 20 seconds. You can wait the 10 seconds for the respawn, come back in. As long as you get anybody in touch before overtime, before the 0.00, you're not going to C9 that. You have 10 seconds to get from spawn to the point. At very worst, you can camp your Tracer.
Yeah, and I don't know. I said it during Hanamura that it would be a worrying thing to see this happen. And I've got to say that my anxiety levels and kind of my concern, because I think Atlas right now, they look amazing. I think we can both at least kind of get to that understanding where first point on Hollywood, when they were defending, they almost full health. It was absolutely beautiful. But the moment they start kind of running in, they're like sprinting for the goalpost, they get tripped. And then they scrape their knee, and now they're asking their mom to put a Dora Band-Aid over it because they're hurt and got a boo-boo. And it's very much an issue. I need them to stand up, kind of wipe that tear, maybe pull a Miss Marvel, try to go for some independence and strength, because I firmly believe that they can bring this back.
You're a believer. I am a believer in the harsh truth and tough love. I think there's nary a chance that Atlas can bring this back. Then again, every single time I've said anything tonight, the teams have been...
yes. Say it.
I just don't think Atlas can bring this back. I think the momentum is in Manifest's hands too hard. I think Atlas Arcadia are in a position where they're going to really struggle to make something happen. They're at the point where it feels like it's a combination of jitters, like game night jitters, and game night boomage. Once you get to that point, it's so difficult to come back. Unless they have somebody with an incredibly good mental, it's going to be so hard for them to come back from this.
If you ask me, I think it's all about having the caster say something. I think that's what happens. Sometimes they're listening in. I mean, sure, this is like kind of like a big kind of delay pause from when they're listening to us and to when we're talking, but I feel like they always have a sense. They have a knowing Like Jeff Kaplan
No.
coded it into the game because now this is where Atlas, I fully believe in them. Maybe this is like counterbalanced it out, so maybe they're gonna be playing average again. But still, I think at least on Manifest, they've been doing an amazing job of not allowing themselves to lose. They just feel so determined to push forward. And I don't know if it's just Source who's consistently not only putting healing but damage in as a Zenyatta, which I give a lot of love to, but Sabretooth and Kark, who are just absolutely insane so far.
So I'm gonna do an 8-word random generator real quick just to see if they can prove this take wrong. Legislation, compartment, platform, measure, touch, hemisphere, frozen person. So if they don't do a legislation, compartment, platform, measure, touch, hemisphere, frozen person, then I feel like I've been personally attacked, and it's really just not been a caster curse, but they're just doing it to boom me.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I should probably have explained that better, shouldn't I?
Yeah, yeah, I would prefer it.
I did a random word generator, right? You can do those online. I said it's 8 words, and I was like, all right, if this forms a legitimate sentence, then I'm gonna say it. I clicked randomize after I started talking though, so I was like, you know what, this is gonna be funny anyways. So if they don't do legislation, compartment, platform, measure, touch, hemisphere, frozen person, all right, if there's no hemisphere, frozen person, what can that be? May. If there's not a May in the next map, then it's been a caster curse.
Well, I think on Route 66, this is very much a map where you don't see May until last point.
Ah,
All right,
if there's
let's
no May, it's caster curse.
listen. If there's no May, it's Caster Curse. This is Route 66. All right, I've been to Big Earl's. I've had myself a nice slice of pie with a fork with 3 sides rather than 4.
What fork is
Since
that?
it's the one that Dave had. I don't understand. Blizzard's been
I'm
very
not
confusing.
asking. I'm not asking as like, what kind of fork is that? I'm saying, what kind of fork is that? That's such a sad kind of fork. 3 prongs instead of 4. That's like eating a pizza with 7 slices. It's just not right.
I was gonna say more. It's like being in a wheelchair without the chair. You know, doesn't really make much sense.
They call it a
But
scooter.
you call a wheelchair without the wheelchair a scooter?
A wheelchair without the chair is a scooter.
All right, you know, I really hope that we have like a downvote button for when it comes to casters of this season. You're definitely going to be getting my vote, as I said before.
There's a verbal downvote button. You just can't say it on stream.
Yeah. Although, look, we are going to be seeing them rock out on the compositions that they are pretty comfortable in, and I think this is where Fun finally gets to shine brighter than anyone. I think Fun has had moments, but this is where you can consistently push forward.
Yeah, Fun's been bright as the desert star on this hero so far, but on the other side, both of these teams have been loving the composition they've been playing. They love to mirror the Tracer Ball Diva, but it's the other 3 picks which have always differentiated for these 2 teams. Sabretooth has loved the Sombra, perfect name for a Sombra player, I kept saying it, and the Brig Zen has been super good for Manifest, but they've had moments where they've looked a little bit sus.
Yeah, now the pressure right now hitting them is absolutely immaculate as Fun almost goes down, able to survive, and this payload's going to be chugging out. You know, it's a choo-choo train. Where are we going? And it seems that they really are looking to dive out those targets. They do get a really nice D-mech onto Astro. However, Kirk is able to just barely escape while Fun takes out Source, but it's still somewhat of a fairly traded thing. I think losing your Zenyatta early like this is going to be kind of a further issue as you're trying to push forward, and your Brig is split from the entirety of the point, but the Tracer's still able to push it.
The Far just walks into the enemy backline and sure gets punished. I don't know what Neapolitan was doing. He was on the Far the entire time there, but Fun does not take a single point of damage. What on earth did you just let him do to your backline?
I've got to say, Tranquility is all about, like, equality and peace, but Fun is playing this very derogatory, alright? I've got to say, there is some hate behind his eyes as the barrage comes out, manages to take out the Sombra, who's very close to EMP. That's absolutely massive. And now they can't really push forward. You see the backline moving out while the Wrecking Ball is trying to leave.
I mean, again here, Sabretooth, not necessarily a slow EMP. 140 is not terrible, but you want them coming up more faster than that. Which is, you know, perfect grammar, I know. But also, I feel like they're not playing against the Far as well as they could. They're going after her with a lot of their resources. Not even with a hack or a good volley from a Zen, but that's a pretty good volley right there.
Yeah, this bomb's going out very high combined with the bomb. It gets a 3K. I think it's stuck on the payload. That would have missed otherwise. The mines are somewhat good when it came to stopping them. But that's basically a team kill if it wasn't for the fact that Newton died very early.
Yeah, it was. So the thing is, right? We said it earlier. Manifest have struggled really hard to get it going without some good initial value. They are very momentum based in these team fights. But I think Fun on the Far has been so good at just ignoring that fact and been able to punish a lot of what they've been wanting to do. Support's moved off high ground early is nice for your positioning, though.
Yeah, look at that. Source and Sherb are taking so much damage. The Transcendence gets used to stay alive, but technically you would have lost this fight, especially with your Tracer, I think, pulse bombing themselves or something?
Yeah, that has been what happened, yeah.
This is the third time that has happened this series, and honestly, that's clippable every time.
There are 3 kinds of Zephyr pulse bombs. The ones that kill 4, the ones that kill 2, and you're one of them. The ones that kill you. Those are the 3 kinds of Zephyr pulse bombs. We'll see you next week, class.
Gotta feel it's a bit of masochism kind of hitting out very brightly, at least. We are gonna see Fun build up this barrage, and I think that's going to be, once again, the shining moment. But the big issue there is that Sabretooth is looking to put a lot more pressure onto Fun, has been putting in a lot more hacks or just damage, and especially with Napoleon trying to do as much as they can. We do see that barrage come out. It's not able to secure anything, and unfortunately it leads to their death in an unresable position, and it seems that they just are starting to collapse underneath that weight, as the D.Va is able to contest, but the Mercy's trying to run to the Ana for some help. It's just barely able to escape. That's what I call true friendship. But they're still not winning up this point or having any type of control. At most, it's a slow stagger, and they're struggling to clean it out.
So, it was a really small thing, but I want to bring it up because it's really emblematic of the problems that have been happening over at Atlas for this whole series. There was a sleep on the backline from Serlin. And out of nowhere, from across the map, Solo manages to snipe Karkanos out of the sleep. I don't know how long he was asleep for, but that is not what you want happening here. But that EMP is definitely what you want happening.
It's absolutely beautiful, but Fun is going inside their backline solely to take out the support line. The bomb is there, but it goes a little too far, so Fun's able to kind of start whistling and continue moving forward while the mines are kind of fighting at each other. It does seem like Manifest are going to be getting the benefit of the doubt with it. However, Fun is still alive, and that's all that truly matters, because you take out the Wrecking Ball, there's 2 people, but the mech is gone, that now it's just 1, a tiny little baby boy. And what do you do to a little baby boy? You send them back to their mommy.
So I really don't like to harp on the same problems that I see over and over again, but it's starting to piss me off. This is, I believe, the 3rd time Dorito has popped Valkyrie after the fight's already been won, and people don't realize that ultimate is really good. It is really important for cycling your ultimates in a composition where you don't have any other good cycling ultimates like this one. D.Va Bomb is your next best cycling ultimate because of how it can force positioning, and this barrage is good, but losing your Pharah means that this fight might be lost, and a Val could help that.
Yeah, look at this. Cypher is just able to move forward. They use the trance just to be able to push. And I mean, sure, you get this remake in, but losing that far means you lose out control of the map, and now the rest of your team isn't able to do that on their own, which is why I think Fun is very much the kind of silent MVP. Just look as they're able to push forward, win that point off, and secure their chances to push forward and maybe cap 3rd point.
This is looking really good for Manifest here. Our Atlas Arcadia, once again, they feel like they're just one jump ahead. Or not one jump ahead. I wanted to make an Aladdin reference, but it didn't work. Manifest feel like they're one jump ahead at every single turn, every corner. And even if Atlas Arcadia has some swords and some really nice training, doesn't matter when Manifest are always just one jump ahead. That was terrible.
Hey, I don't disagree, especially with the fact that they are just taking so much damage. I think switching over to the Echo is one of the best ideas, because I think Pharah, while works, Echo's just so much better on this point.
Even more importantly than that, Dorito has been struggling hard on the Mercy. I said it earlier, the ults have not been good, but the Brigitte has not been terrible from Dorito. He's got some really good rallies, some decent whip shots. He's been pretty good on this hero throughout the series, so that's going to be a nice change of pace for your backline as well. And this nade doesn't land. Okay.
Yep, it seems that this is where they want to start using everything. However, Zephyr is the one found out. I do like using those supportals together. At least they complement each other. Not only does the team build up armor, but they get consistent healing. So now when they're moving forward, Fun is very close to that copy, which could be a kind of game changer, especially with Dorito being gone. But look at this, the Nano's being used just to be able to build up that ult charge and damage. Fun wants to try to get this out, not only to stall, but to maybe make something happen. Gets the Wrecking Ball, not the Diva. It's second best, but it works. This bomb goes out far, combined with the EMPs, able to take out Solo. While we just see Fun trying to build up those mines, doesn't manage to get it, is now back in the Echo form, is still able to take the attraction and face away from them. Newton does use that bomb, but it's still not able to get much. The mines are there from Karg, but honestly, they're not as great as you want to. The payload is just going to be able to break them and kind of shut them down, but they're still managing to push it. That's all that matters right now. We see this bomb coming out from Astro, just looking to kind of move them around. They are playing their corners and line of sight. That's really what you want, especially with Fun switching back over to the Soldier, switching to the Soldier, trying to make anything happen. We see Source using that Transcendence, wants to keep things even, wants to keep them nice and clean, but they really need to start focusing them out. Fun doesn't pay attention and gets taken out by Zephyr, while the rest of the team is sort of now kind of panicking. They don't have the damage and they're not confident in themselves. We see this rally being used from Dorito, but it's going to be a little too late. Sure, it gives you that speed boost, but you're having to move in when their Brig is there to boop you, and they manage to cap with no time bank, but that's still a capture.
Do I get to talk now? You good?
Maybe.
So, that's the second to last fight went really well to start off with for Atlas, because Fun landed a really nice 2-tap onto the enemy Tracer, and that's one thing I think still needs to be nerfed about Echo. You know, her close range spread and her long range poke is just too good. I think you need to nerf one of those, but I'm just getting off topic right now. So, I think that even though it was a really good pick from Fun to start off that fight in a way that really shouldn't have happened, Manifest just never really lost control in the fight. Like, sure, they did end up losing the fight, but every loss they took, they just got positioning, they got value, they did something to get back at where they needed to be. Even if they lost players, they were, like, the moment they lost a player, I felt like, alright, let's set up for the next fight right now. Rather than backing up and be like, alright, let's reset, they're like, alright, let's get ready for the next fight. How can we set up to win the next one?
Yeah, I definitely have to kind of agree. But this is the moment where we're both kind of, I think where everyone's wanting to pay attention to Atlas. Do you push this with confidence, or do you let Fun control the entire map and kind of lead you to a chance of victory?
The problem with Atlas so far, right? You have Fun, who's been an incredible Pharah. No arguments from either of us. He's so good on this hero so far. But Dorito has felt like every single time he's been on Mercy, he's struggled. He really has struggled on this hero throughout the whole series, even outside of the Valkyries. It feels like it's just not a comfort pick for him compared to, like, his Brigitta's looked good, his Lucio's looked really good. So it's really a big fundamental problem with Atlas that their best heroes contradict each other.
Yeah, honestly, you make a really fair point, but this is in a similar situation to how we are going to see them kind of move in, to how we saw the, last round Manifest try to push in. It's how do you want to use this Pharah correctly, because you're moving into their line of sight, so you want to be able to make that space and make something happen. It does seem Fun. I think got a direct hit, but not a headshot onto Zypher, managing to take them out. Not having the Tracer there is going to be an issue, because they don't have anyone kind of going into the backline and poking them out, and especially the fact that they are just moving forward. Play with that chest out, play with that confidence, and enable Fun to shut everybody down, because there is nobody on the side of Manifest who can kind of take this back. Maybe they can have one more fight, but still.
So, the reason I kind of freaked out when Fun got that elimination, because he 180 Zephyr in a beautiful manner. It was such a good shot from Pharah there. Like, landing 180s on certain heroes like Roadhog and Ball, it's easy, it takes up half your screen. But it was a decently long distance 180 on a Tracer. Really good there, and the Ana pick off super good. We're gonna have to see. Oh,
Oh, that is a beautiful mine stopping anyone from touching. They have to go to the low ground, and it seems that they are really confident in trying to recontest this. Maybe Source is confident in building up these Transcendence, but they use it, and it really wasn't much of a value, except they managed to kind of take out Solo, and then the Ana, the Barrage gets used, and manages to take them out. So at least Fun secures this for you. But the Pulse Bomb takes out Newton, and it... You gotta wipe that that sweat off your brow. That was almost a comeback, and it seems that Manifests are gonna be shut down.
I have to type a cheeky comment in chat. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm good. So that fight, even though there was a win from Atlas and Fun has looked incredible, Exhibit 77, Source forcing the ultimates used, the barrage used, and the pulse bomb used. It was just the pulse bomb from her correctly. I'm dumb. Was really, really good, because even though you did end up using Trance and Pulse Bomb yourself, you at the very least don't have to worry about Source and Sherb from being one-shot by a Tracer. You still have to worry about them being one-shot by a Pharah, but it's going to be a lot easier to deal with that Pharah when you're not also at threat of being effectively Widowmaker headshot by a grenade.
Definitely have to agree. I mean, the whole economy so far is kind of still even, but this EMP is not fair as we see them being able to use it. They managed to pop up the Nano before anything, and Fun is shutting them down. Even without using that barrage, you do more than enough value to your team to push forward. I mean, you've now lost your Mercy, but I still believe this is Atlas's favor. Look at this. Nobody really on the point besides for maybe a D.Va and Somber, but they're basically only going to be staggering themselves, especially with no mech.
I mean, staggering yourself here is somewhat okay because you're going to get a decent bit of the cart progress in your favor. You're going to stop the cart up, you're going to get yourself a little bit more time, and you're going to be able to farm up a little bit more of these ultimates. Cybertooth, 48% to this next EMP. Might be able to get it online before the second point is captured if you can stall it out for long enough. But you're going into another barrage. Fun has been indomitable so far.
Yep, now this is where they really want to make it happen. Fun continuing to use this barrage. Uncontested, more of it. Mines being used on the point, but they're on the opposite side. Everybody's basically going to be ignoring them while Fun is just walking into your team. It's whistling. F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me.
You up. And is for nuking your whole backline with 1,000 self-destructs now. It's been good Pharah play.
I definitely gotta agree, but I think this is where it becomes the issue. You got 3 minutes on the clock. Not only do you need to cap this, but Pharah is much weaker on third point. It is so closed in, and you're not as fast as, say, an Echo or Mercy to be able to play these corners. Sabretooth also has this EMP, and it's so close together that they're stacked. Look at how it pops out. It manages to hit 4, and then they focus down the Mercy. Fun gets found out, and this is the worrying part where we have to see how they try to adapt against this.
Every fight is on this defensive round that Manifests have won, they've killed Fun first. This is the second fight they've won on the defense so far, and Fun was the first person to, or second person to die. Granted, the Mercy was the first person, so technically they made me a liar after I'd already said or before I'd even said the thing, but still, they're killing the Pharmacy first, and that's where what they need to do. That's a case-by-case situation. Who do we kill first, the Pharmacy or the rest of the team? If the Pharmacy's killing your entire team, kill it first, or else you lose.
Yeah, I do like to see that bomb come out as a good engagement, also being able to find some value. Now use that Nano on Fun, help build up the barrage, but they are able to kind of continue moving forward. But the issue is that they lose Dorito. That's going to be a major issue. The Ana is also 1v1ing the baby D.Va, so they are going to be taking a slight bit of damage, and that leads to Somber to be able to kind of focus up and take them out. So, sure, this payload's going to keep moving forward, but the respawns aren't in their favor. And Dorito is getting spawn camped as well. Now we see this Transcendence be used. This is going to be an aggressive one as they push forward. They're like Patrick in the new Smash game. They're just, where is she?
Oh, that I never thought I would say this phrase more in this game than any Harmony game. That ain't it. That Transcendence was not it. You could be coming into this next fight with 6 ultimates. Pulse Bomb's good, so you at least have more time to build up this Transcendence. But this barrage is going to be coming in. You need to save your defense matrix entirely for this, or else you just flat out fold to it half the time. Like, it's going to be so hard to just to self-sustain with this backline. Sure, Rally is great. Diva DM can stop a barrage, but you had to use so many resources. Now that you don't have this Transcendence, this EMP's got to be big to help farm that.
I definitely agree, but it's gonna be an issue with the way they want to move in. I feel as long as you either wait or just play first,
Oh no!
this manifests his turn. We see the Diva going out as Fun takes so much damage, uses the barrage, close quarters and dies!
That
When the
ain't
block gets
it.
used, that res is not possible. The mine splits them up, the payload gets moving. They don't seem to be paying attention to it until the Zenyatta comes out and says, time to 1v1 you, wah, wah, and manages to kind of scare off Newton, but the rest of the team isn't able to push forward. They are stuck inside this death quarters as the Diva is freely able to escape with their mech. Don't let that happen. They didn't even have to use the EMP, and now there's no ult economy.
Something else really important here, you managed to keep the EMP. It's going to be coming out now, though.
Look at this, Fun's already gone. The pulse bomb's used just to kind of focus them out, and they are struggling to find their security. They just don't have really the team to be able to do it, and now this is where they switch over to the Dave, and they have that, at least the Nano to kind of maybe push it forward.
Yeah, Crazy Dave coming out, probably not gonna be able to win you this team fight here, as you only have the Nano boost, and we're gonna have to see who they apply it to. There's a lot of interesting options.
Yeah, look at this, Transcendence being used, plus those mines, the bomb goes up high, drops down, managing to take out Sherb. That was a little rude, it just kind of blasted them away, and it seems that they are going to lose to Rito. It is a fair trade, but the Briggs are going to be coming back at somewhat of an equal time, although the hack going on to Astro is going to be pretty massive. Newton does have this pulse bomb to try to make it more into their favor, but they're not focusing the same target. Now the bomb's inside their back, they're able to pop it out. Neo's just going to be the one who kind of secures this for them, combined with the ball. And it seems that Manifest, they're just gonna secure this out, a 3-1 victory.
So, I just want to cover this real quick because it kind of just blew my mind. It might be what the play of the game is. Neo ends up going into the enemy team's backline. Yeah, this is it. This was incredible for me. He ends up killing the Ana. I believe okay, I thought he saved the Sombra. That would have been insane. But he ends up killing the Kree and the Ana by doing the solo dive into the backline as the Diva. Incredible play at the last moments there. Great decision making from Neo to be like, you see this backline? He's mine now. No more backline for you.
I definitely gotta agree. And I thought this match was a little bit more funny, but like frustrating at the same time, because Atlas, they at least, I think, just by seeing them, they 100% could be a top tier team. I don't think there's a bone in their body that isn't really good or was better than Manifest, but the issue is that they didn't have the momentum to bring it forward. They weren't good once they started losing the fights.
Yeah, both of these teams were kind of like that this series. It felt like Atlas had their moments where they had the momentum, they had everything in their hands, but then they would lose it, and then Manifest had everything in their hands, they had all the momentum, and they would lose it. It was so back and forth in that sense, but the thing that most hurts me, like you said, Atlas could totally be a top team. They're playing so well. It's just they're playing so well in groups. Fun and Dorito really well synchronized as a farmer seat. Fun's not going too far where Dorito's in too much trouble. Solo and Astro, pretty good tank line. They're synchronized decently well with each other. And then you have Hypernote and Surlin, who are not terrible, but it feels like so many of these players aren't synchronized well enough with the rest of the players on their team. This is the highest rank that you can get to in Overwatch Transcendence. This is the highest level of competition. It's so important to get your coaching straight as well as your players. It's less important at the lower ranks because if you have good enough players, you can just do stuff and not get it punished. But here, you can't get away with that as much. You need to be able to coach these players and get just to the level synchronization-wise to where you're not going to need to worry about, all right, are we going to need to think about this? Are we going to need to think about that? Do these players know what each other are doing? It should be a yes 100% of the time. And Manifest just were a little bit better at that.
Yeah, in the end, they are going to be taking out this victory, and we get to sit here and think who kind of the MVP is. And I'm going to give like a kind of, pseudo MVP, and it's going to be to Atlas's Far. Listen. The Far was doing popping off for the time they were alive, but for Manifest, for the main MVP, I'm going to give it to Source, at least for me. What do you feel like?
So I'm 90% sure we're not allowed to give it to the losing team, but they did it once in Owl. Fun fact: Season 1 Shanghai, the only time anybody ever won an MVP vote was Dia. I think that Manifest were super even across the board. Neo had his moments, Cyber had his moments, especially Cyber in my opinion. Zephyr had his moments. Everybody had their moments of being just super good. But the best player in the lobby was Fun. It's no questions asked. Fun was the best player in the lobby tonight. It was not even close. I can't, in good faith, give any player in Manifest the MVP vote because they were so even with each other and so even, just evenly playing. Fun felt like he was putting his team on his back for so much of that, and he's got scoliosis at this point. He was doing so much work.
It's just giving love to a team that we saw had potential but can't figure it out. While Manifest brings it out, and I've got to say, the reason why I pick Source at least is because no matter what, Source at times was not dying when Source should have died, was getting value when when I was surprised they were getting value. Not only was building up Transcendence consistently, which most Zenyatas sometimes can struggle to do, but was just an overall well-rounder. I mean, I definitely agree with you because Cypher and Sabretooth kind of amp it up to 12 at times, especially Sabretooth, who came in second map, builds up these EMPs like you would never expect them. Napoleon and the other tank being able to kind of continue to move forward, and Sherb, but I think Source just had so much passive value that overall helped the team when they made small mistakes, and that's why I gotta give it to them. So I guess my vote's are technically the only one that counts here.
That's a little rude if you ask me. Sorry, your vote doesn't count. Ow. I think my vote is perfectly reasonable, but I'm honestly, if we have to give it to a player on the winning team, I'm more than happy to give it Source. I'm more than happy to give it to any of them. They were all so good tonight, but I think that I can't. I just can't. If I'm allowed to, I will pick Fun, and if I'm not allowed to, I'll just say Source to agree with you.
Oh, I don't think they're gonna be able to stop us anyways because
Yeah,
we both
you're
like
right. You're
Fun.
right. You're
Yeah,
right. If you don't let me pick Fun, you hate Fun, and Fun is good. Don't hate Fun. I pick Fun.
fight
Fun
the
is fun.
yeah. I've gotta say. Oh no. Okay. I I just want to make sure. Could they hear that?
Yeah, could they hear that?
Okay. I just I just thought you started yelling at us for no reason.
Oh, we were
Alright.
just dead quiet. Oh, they couldn't hear. Okay, Cav just told us. Actually, as the MVP commissioner, you are not allowed. But
Or either way.
apparently we are because he was joking.
Yeah.
So
I think that was a good laugh and kind of
Fun.
just joke around. So, if we had to MVP Source, but I think both of us agree that Fun was
Oh, yeah.
absolutely insane consistently throughout the matches. But we've kind of reached the end, and this is where I normally let you take it off, so please give us the ring out.
Oh, I get to bring us in once and take us out twice. Thank you for this glorious gift. So it was a great night. Manifest managed to put themselves into a great position to continue on the season 3-5 now. Meanwhile, it feels like Atlas are in a bit of a rough position, 2-6. But Manifest, we're gonna have to see if they can continue this momentum into their future matches and try and get up a little bit more, a little bit higher. They're a little bit closer to even. I've been Time Monster though, as your beautiful, handsome color caster, but on the other side, they also, I guess, attractive user intel.
Yeah, look at the side profile. I've got hair everywhere.
Yeah, the bush head, I guess you could call him. But we'll be seeing you next time. Have a great night.
Yeah, but I'm not a crook.
Thank you.